All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Let's go out and take a look. MarketVibe, Katie signals, out there. MarketVibe has increased to a 7 here today. So still strongly bullish, but not overbought, by any real stretch there. Kind of the same story in terms of what it's telling and what's going on out there. You heard me earlier today kind of describe today's market as kind of just, one of those kind of lazy summer time, low volume bull market days. It's very much like that, and you have a few things on the move. Outside of that, not a ton, but we see a lot of differentiation, still high differentiation out there, and I expect that will continue. On the Katie's watch list, there are 3 stocks that have some 3-7 crossover action on them today. One of them, and looks like my stock charts is frozen. Let's see if it'll fall out here for us. But the 3 are Caterpillar, Facebook, and NTES. And if we look at Caterpillar here, we talked about it this morning, just kind of shot out of a cannon. It has the 3-7 crossover going on here today in a fairly bullish manner. And I'm not sure if it's going to end as a KD signal. We'll see here in about 30 minutes, but the consolidation risk, I think, is going to be too high. But, we'll see when it spits it out. But does have the chance of being a KD signal here today. The other 3-7 crossover, Facebook, or another one, Facebook here, it has something really unusual happening today. Actually has the 3 and the 7 crossing over on a day where the stock's going down. And, the way you get that, the only way it can happen is if it drops off a number or drops off a day that's more negative than what the current day is. And that's what it's doing. If we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days back, stock went from 175 down to 170, had a $5 down day. Today it's only down $1.32. So, yes, the stock's down, but the moving averages improve. And you don't typically see this happen. It's not, uber rare, but we do see it happening here with Facebook. Facebook will not qualify as a KD signal. Consolidation risk just way too high on it. And then last here is NTES. Now, been watching NTES here today, and if it pulls back anymore, it's not going to close above or close with the crossover. But NTES is one of those that has traded differently than some of the other Chinese names. It had a substantial pullback, right? Came down, created this kind of chasm, snap back, but has been setting some higher lows ever since with some higher highs. And so we have a stock that's kind of in the infancy of some sort of, switch from lower highs and lower lows to higher highs and higher lows. And, there's some decent volume on it here today. And let me just show you the minute chart. You can see the open this morning, and up, and away, gets this pullback, and there's some big volume in this. And, since it's just kind of, dissipated a little bit, it's continued to pull on back a little bit. But this one does have KD signal potential here today, but I'm not exactly sure how the consolidation risk is gonna play out here on it. Either way, to me, if you're gonna go buy something like NTES, the stop is on today's or basically on yesterday's closing price. I think if you're gonna go play any of these Chinese names, that's kind of where you go. Stop on yesterday's closing price. Heck, you want to go play FXI? Stop on yesterday's closing price, but that's a long way away, right? So, they're not for the faint of heart. They're not for, to me, they're more lotto type plays than anything out there. So those are the 3 that have the 3-7 downside crossing action going on here with them. 3 of the 3-7 upside crossing action on them. Now for the downside, let me grab my list here. All right, sorry about that. For the downside, there's no real 3-7 crossover action that's happening on the stocks that are on Katie's watch list. If we go to something like the S&P 500, we do have a few that have some 3-7 crossover action. The higher volume ones here, something like a Discovery, DISCA, has that 3-7 action. But again, news driven with that volume. You take a look at something like a Mattel that also had news here on it this morning. Has that 3-7 crossover. Whirlpool, WHR, has that, but not enough to qualify as a Katie signal here with them. And, no real major names out there where you say, wow, this is something to pay attention to. Carnival Cruise Line, this stock's been, this has traded ugly for a while. And, has that 3-7 down, but not in a way that is creating a really nice signal here for the Katie algorithm. As far as the trend rider goes, there have been so few trend riders in the market this year. It has been, kind of startling to me to see how few there have been. And, I look and I say, well, is it market conditions? Is it what? Is it this, that, the other? Is the watch list too tight, and do I need to expand the watch list? But a lot of things have just kind of been like this year. NFG. Yeah. Bands just a little too far apart, and not a lot of volume. And for a lot of these, a lot of these small cap, mid caps, they're like VSTO, just no volume. And I look and I go, okay, well, do I take volume out of the equation? Well, no, because when I go and back test without volume, it doesn't work. Trend Rider doesn't work without volume, and so. There's no point in pulling it out, but we're just not getting a ton of volume. We have something like ATKR today that has the volume, has the Pierce, and all of that. Up 11% on the day, and band's not exactly all that tight. And there's not really optionable in terms of being able to play options for it. So just not a lot still on that. On that side, I'm very curious. I'm very curious to see if we see some trend rider bear action coming into the markets. A lot of times ahead of a pullback, we'll see some trend rider bears come in. But so far, just nothing. We have a few things that are, piercing lower bands like a PX, but it's based off yesterday's action with the big down. So not triggering there. But others that are piercing the lower band, you probably just haven't even heard of these names, like FRGI, Fiesta Restaurant Group, let alone be able to trade options on them. So nothing in the Katie watch list, for trend riders here, again on the day. Now, I mentioned at the beginning here, MarketVibe at a 7 here today, and it's still in a strong position. Let me come in here. I'll show you a number of stocks trading above the 7-day moving average. 384. This is one of the things that keeps me from pulling the trigger on some SPY puts right here. Because generally, when the market's overcooked and ready for a little pullback, overall, when it's been bullish and it gets a little high, generally this number pops up into the 420 to 450 area. And it's only a 384, which is a fairly low number. Another thing we tend to see is the number of stocks trading above the 20-day moving average starts to get up into the 400 area. And if we look right here, we're at 350. So we're really kind of in the bullish sweet spot for number of stocks trading above moving averages, and not in any sort of overbought type of way here at all. We look at things like the bullish percent index that turned bullish a while back, BPSPX, right? And you look at this, and it's nowhere near overcooked, nowhere close to giving any sign of downside, just right in the sweet spot here for the bulls. The volumes as well, right in the sweet spot for the bulls. You look at the sectoral performances. I mean, even just as simple as coming in, and we'll just take a look at a sector summary over the last month. Just this simple. It's being led by financials, industrials, healthcare. There's some staples, but who's lagging? Utilities. It's a pretty bullish setup here in terms of where the money's going. And so, the bulls remain in control. No real signs of weakness out there. It's one of those where, transports have just continued to go to new highs. Semiconductors have continued to rally here. In fact, in a little bit of breakout mode here today. Micron pushing above the 7-day moving average. I've been watching this, hoping maybe it gets down to the 200-day moving average. But no real volume on it today to make me want to jump in. But we do see some of these on bouncing. And overall, just still that same type of market. Bullish with high differentiation. Now, for kind of this little week-long challenge, have bought some Valero here today, and you can see it's moving on up here a little bit, but bought about $1,000 worth. The overall fresh move above the 7-day moving average today, and I'm looking for that secondary move, and there's nothing in this action right back here to suggest that a top was in. There's no monster volume, heavy abnormal volume. There's some high volumes, but nothing where you go, oh man, this is a top. And with that nice little push up a couple weeks ago, erasing a month and a half worth of selling in one day. This is something where overall I expect it to go up into the 140 area, and it's not going to get there during the lifespan of my option. But, if it wants to get up to 120, 122, I'll take it. So, going to run with that. And, if it starts to break down, we'll assess and go. I don't think there's a fantastic stop, with it. But, if it starts to move, let me pull up the hourly chart. If we're starting to talk about it moving into about the 116 area, I may have to look and say, all right, let me pull it off and move on. But anyway, looking for the overall trend to continue here when it comes to Valero. Okay. All right. So most likely, I won't buy those SPY puts here into the close. I can't argue against them if you're looking for a little bit of protection. One of the things that I've kind of watched for protection, I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, is IWM. In the September, just regular September monthly options, and there's 159, 160 call spread, put spread. And, we know that August can be a interesting month for the markets. August can lead to or have, 3 just massive down days in a row, or, a 2-week market doesn't go up a single day type of period. We have seen that happen time and time again. And, it's one of those things where it doesn't have to happen, but, there's an elevated risk. And so if you're looking for a little protection, one of the ways to get that and to have some of that downside potential is if you look at the September options, 45 days, that gets you through August, gets you through most of September. You can pick these up for about 10, 11 cents. Heck, even on the, even on the 160, 161, you can pick those up for 12 cents. The 161, 162, you can pick them up for 13, 14 cents. But if the market takes a nosedive, these spreads are going to be worth $1. And so being able to pick them up for 10 cents, 11 cents, 15 cents, and something that has a good chance of being worth $1 on a nosedive, that's a really nice, risk reward. And, some of that is offered because of the low implied volatility out there in the market. There's no sign that it's happening, that it's ready, that it's gonna, shoot on down or anything like that. So I'm just saying, if you're looking for some protection, I have not pulled the trigger on mine yet, but I likely will, especially if we see the IWM up a little bit here tomorrow. But overall, that's always a risk. That's always a possibility. And the way those are priced is kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. I'm kind of hoping maybe tomorrow IWM makes it up to the 168, 169, 169.40 level. and then I can pick some up for the 165, 164 for 10, 15 cents. If I get that chance, I'll take it. But I do suspect I think this will be one of the better ways to to hedge. For a potential August swoon or whatever that we'll probably hear bantered about in the media a little bit. But overall, no real sign of that happening. And generally, what happens before a big August drop? Volumes tick up big time. And right now, not even close, right? Volumes are very, very lazy, very, very light. The algos are just, in general, turned off, in a big way. So, no real sign of that here just yet. All right, so that's Market Vibe, some of the signals, some of my thoughts on some things out there. Going to run into the close with Valero, and we'll see what the morning brings and talk to you then. Have yourselves a great one, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.